And there he is. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular April 11th, 2024 meeting of the Webster Groves Board of Adjustment. Tom, would you please call the roll?
Deb Zollberg.
Here.
BJ Papello.
Here.
Mel Wilson.
Here.
Andrew Pottist.
Here.
And Tom Walsh is here.
Good evening. We have 3 petitions here tonight, and we will take each one separately. First, the city staff will present testimony regarding the facts of the request. Then the applicant will have the opportunity to present their request to the board, followed by those in favor of the application. And if you have a couple of people here for something, they can all speak. And then we'll ask for anyone who's opposed to the application. And then the board will close the public session and open for board discussion and decision on each petition. The proceedings are recorded, so we ask you to speak clearly and one at a time, and we do ask you to come to the podium when you want to speak. We will vote on your application tonight for a decision, and approval will take 4 out of the 5 board members here tonight. Please try not to be redundant or repetitive in your comments, though I don't think that's going to be an issue. Tom, would you please read the powers relative to the requested variance?
I will. When by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property as of September 20, 1956, or by reason of exceptional topographical conditions or other extraordinary or exceptional situation or condition of a specific piece of property, which condition is not generally relevant in the neighborhood, the strict application of the area regulations of this zoning code would result in peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties to our exceptional and undue hardship upon the owner of such property. The board is hereby empowered to authorize upon an appeal related to such property a variation from such strict application so as to relieve such difficulties or hardships.
I'm sorry, before we get started on the first petition, I just want to note that we have Mara Perry, Director of Planning and Development here tonight, and Peter Buntrager, who is the acting city attorney, in addition to the board members. Tom, would you please read docket 2409 into the record?
Yes, 2409, a petition submitted by Stacy and Garrett Inlow for an application for variance from section 53.073 C2 of the zoning code of the city of Webster Groves. The request is for a variance from section 53.073 C2 of the zoning code of the city of Webster Groves. The property is located at 236 Spring Avenue within the A4 7,500 square foot resident district. Now, wait a minute here. That didn't say what the variance.
Did not, sorry. It's up on your screen.
Yeah.
All right, the applicant is requesting a variance of 0.85 feet from the minimum required 5.35 foot north side yard setback in order to build an addition located 4.50 feet from the north side of the property line. The property is located at 236 Spring Avenue within the A4 7,500 square foot residential district.
Thank you. Mr. Buntrager?
Yes, we would ask Mara Perry to testify, but prior to that, I would ask that we note exhibits 1 through 9 for the record for the purposes of this hearing.
Thank you.
We call Mara Perry to testify.
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Please state your name for the record.
Mara Perry?
Are you employed by the city of Webster Groves?
Yes, I am.
In what capacity?
Director of Planning and Development
What are your duties in that position?
to enforce and execute zoning regulations.
Through your work with the city, are you familiar with 236 Spring Avenue?
Yes, I am.
this within the city limits?
Yes, it is.
In which zoning district is that property located?
It's in the A4 7,500 square foot residence district.
What is the applicant's request in docket number 2409?
So the applicant's requesting a variance of 0.85 feet from the minimum required 5.35 foot north side yard setback in order to build an addition located 4.5 feet from the north side property line.
Which municipal code sections apply to this request?
So the code section that applies in this instance is section 53.073 A4 dimensional regulations, C side yard setback. The minimum side yard setback shall be established in the following manner. Item 2, residential structures existing as of September 20, 1956, which are closer to the side property line than 6 feet, may be enlarged provided any addition is no closer to the side property line than 10% of the lot width at the front yard setback.
Can you describe the existing conditions of this property?
Yes, so you have the survey in front of you with the existing house highlighted in yellowish orange. The house was built in 1951. And this particular property where the location of the house is the lot itself narrows as it continues from the front property due to both the curvature of the street as well as just in general the way that the lot was laid out. And what that does is it makes the front yard setback, which is how we determine the percentage that we can take for the existing structure, that gets reduced so that even though the house meets the required 10% of the width of the lot at the front yard setback, the back corner does not meet that same requirement. So as the curvature of the street creates the canter to the side yard property line, it establishes and creates a unusual situation with this kind of diagonal that we're working with. So the request is to do a very small, essentially 7 square foot addition on the back corner of the house. And because the 10% of the lot width at the building line is 5.35 feet, the back corner, once the small addition is done, will be at 4.5 feet. This you can see here. This is the floor plan from the applicant's architect. The area that they need to or want to build this little tiny addition is in blue. The green line is where the setback would be for that back corner of the house. And the red is what they are requesting, which is the 4.5 feet. I've also highlighted in the packet the 2 elevations on the rear and the side that show the area that this very small 7 square foot area will encompass on the elevations. And then there's photos of the existing house. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that little area that is the area that needs to be filled in order to do the project on the interior of the house.
The area by the trash cans there on the left
Yes.
side? Okay.
So I'm going to go back. So you can see right back in this back corner right here, you can see there is that existing bay window that you can then see in the photographs there.
Anything else to add?
I have nothing further.
See further in this docket number.
Does anyone have any questions for Mara before we ask the petitioner to speak?
No.
Okay. Who's here tonight for docket 2409?
I am. I'm Stacy Enlow.
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Please present your request.
First of all, thank you very much for your consideration this evening and your time. We would just like to make a tiny expansion to make our kitchen more functional. That's it. Do you have any questions for me?
I just to clarify the record, I know you've submitted a petition. Ms. Perry mentioned this as well, but the shape of your property does go in at the rear of the lot, correct?
Yes, it
And
does.
so while it starts at almost 55 feet at the front, it narrows throughout.
Yes, it
And,
does.
and that's the hardship you've presented.
That is the hardship, yes.
And the fact that the lot is only 55 feet wide at the right of way, not even at the building line. I mean,
Yes,
that is,
accurate.
tends to be a narrower lot than we see in Webster Groves,
Yeah,
though it is not completely unique.
Yeah, for the record, at the back of the lot, it looks like that's 46 feet.
Yes, it does narrow considerably going back, and it goes uphill also.
Uphill.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know our neighbors had put on an addition and had to blast bedrock out, so.
And you are, you're gonna match the
It-
siding.
Yes, we will match the siding.
So is the addition, it's basically even with the current sidewall of the house, right?
Yes,
doesn't
it was
extend any
even
further.
with the current side of the house, yes. It's just currently a little bump out right now, which is essentially like a little breakfast nook. It's kind of useless right now the way it is.
So you're gonna have a slightly larger bump out, right?
Right, a
I mean,
slightly larger
it's
bump
not like
out is what it will be,
It's not like
yes,
you're doubling the size of your kitchen, right?
right.
Does anyone else have any questions?
None here. No.
All right. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in, you can sit down, please.
Okay, thank you.
If you'd like. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of docket 2409? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to docket 2409? Hearing none and seeing none, and Mara's nodding because she's checking on for anyone online. We'll close the public session and move to board discussion. Could we please have a motion regarding docket 2409 so we could start discussion?
Well, I make a motion that we approve the variance request for docket 2409.
I'll second.
Okay, Tom, you want to make some comments? on
Well,
why?
the comments I'll make, I just reiterate, I think some of what's been said, the lot size is narrows toward the back and goes uphill. And I think that makes it hard, provides a hardship or a practical difficulty to add on to the house. They're not bringing the house out further. It's the line of the house will remain straight with the existing structure. So I see that is the key factor here, what we're considering.
Anyone else have any comments?
I agree. It basically just squares off the corner. And I can see in the floor plan why that makes it, why that does make it a bit more functional.
Have we addressed the hardship, the narrowness of the lot, the fact that the lot narrows as we go further back, and the fact that the house is placed so that it currently doesn't meet the required setback at all points?
I would agree.
Any other comments?
Yeah, maybe I just missed it. Were there any letters from the neighbors, and
No.
how much is it gonna encroach on the
No.
neighbor property line?
Well, it's not going to be any closer than the existing house is. It's just going to be, what, 2 feet back or 4 feet back?
It'll be 0.85 feet closer.
Yeah.
In that one
In
corner.
that one corner. Any other questions or comments?
So I'd call for the question.
All in favor of docket 2409, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Would you please poll the board?
Okay, Debbie Sahlberg,
Aye.
BJ Papello,
Aye.
Mel Wilson,
Aye.
Andrew Pothest,
Aye.
and I vote aye, Tom Walls.
Your variance request has been approved. Please see city staff during regular business hours for your next step. And unfortunately, my understanding is city staff will not be in the office before Tuesday afternoon.
Your application does not need to go to ARB. I will move it directly over before I leave tonight to go into permit review, and then they'll be able to move it on so that you can get your building permit. Mhm.
Thank you. Tom, would you please read docket 2410 into the record?
Docket 2410. Request, let's see what, the petition, a petition submitted by Patrick and Leslie Shiners for an application for variance from section 53.053B1 of the zoning code of the city of Webster Groves. The applicant is requesting a variance of 1.4 feet from the minimum required 20-foot east front yard setback in order to structurally alter and expand an existing two-story screened porch located 18.6 feet from the east front property line. The property is located at 303 Planthurst Road within the A2 15,000 square foot residential district.
Thank you. Mr. Bontrager?
We would again call Ms. Perry to testify, but before her testimony, I would ask that exhibits 1 through 9 be noted in the record for the purpose of this hearing.
Thank you.
Could you please state your name?
Yes, Mara Perry.
Are you employed by the city of Webster Groves?
Yes, I am.
In what capacity?
Director of Planning and Development
What are your duties in that position?
to administer and execute zoning regulations.
Through your work with the city, are you familiar with 303 Planthurst Road?
Yes, I am.
Is that within city limits?
Yes, it is.
In which zoning district is that property located?
It's in the A2 15,000 square foot residence district.
What is the applicant's request in docket number 2410?
The applicant's requesting a variance of 1.4 feet from the minimum required 20-foot east front yard setback in order to structurally alter and expand an existing two-story screen porches located 18.6 feet from the east front property line.
And which municipal code sections apply to this request?
The code section that applies is 53.053B1. It's the A2 dimensional regulations, front yard setback. Lots that have been legally platted with an established front yard setback shall follow the recorded setback.
Can you describe the existing conditions of this property?
Yes, so this particular property was built in 1940. The house was built, it is a corner property, so it has two front yards, one off of Planthurst and one off of Jefferson Road. The house itself, as well as the addition off the back of the house, were built just a hair over the property line. So when the applicant came in to do some renovations to the existing part of the structure in the back, we noted that the survey had identified that the back structure and the house are 0.3 feet over the building line that's recorded on the plat for this particular subdivision. Staff did recommend including the existing chimney on that same facade, which is also over the setback line in the request, to address anything along that property line, should anything along that property line come to them to us within the future. In this particular instance, using the location of that chimney, which again is over the 20-foot building line, the request would be I wrote 18.4 on one part and 18.6 on the other. It's 18.6. So ignore in my PowerPoint off to the side, it should be 18.6 feet over, based off of where the 20-foot property line setback was established on the plat. This shows a little bit more the area that they are looking at. There is the existing screened porch. On the first floor, they would like to expand it further out. And on the second floor, they would like to enclose the screened porch to be an enclosed area. So that blue is some expansion off of the existing covered porch that's there. Again, I will note I have 18.4 on one and 18.6 on the other. It should be 18.6. This now is turned around just because the architect had it with the arrow in a different direction. But this is, if you're looking at the back of the house, the blue area in the first floor plan, which is at the top, They are going to be renovating the existing screen porch, which is in the yellow orangish color. And then they're going to be expanding the first floor with some additional screened-in porch on the first floor level. On the second floor level, which is the floor plan below it, they plan to enclose that existing screen porch to use it for additional space on their second floor. This again is some elevations from the architect as they were working out what they were trying to do for the project. You can see in the left and it should be left and right elevations. Those two elevations show the area in the yellowish orange that is existing, but will be altered in order to enclose the upper level. And then in blue, the expansion that they would like to do off of the screen porch on the back. And then here's a series of photos. You can see the screen porch right in here. So it is screened in on both levels. They're going to expand on that lower level and enclose on the upper level.
Anything else to add?
Nothing else to add.
City has nothing further.
So I'm sorry, I got a little confused.
Yeah, I did
The
too.
addition is not going to be 18.6 feet from it's the addition is going to be something less than 20, but it's the chimney that's 18.6 feet.
Correct.
And so we're measuring from the chimney, but the addition doesn't quite meet the 20-foot setback.
Correct. It is 0.3 feet over the property line.
The addition, is it coming out any further than the existing?
No, it's
Nothing
in
is coming
line.
out
Yeah.
further than what
But
already
because
is.
they're structurally altering. it.
Yes, they're altering it. Right. Yeah.
So what's the claimed hardship?
This house the entire house was built over the property line by 0.3 feet. And so in order for them to do anything with this back part of the house at any point in the future, they would have to have gotten the variance in order to make any alterations. So it's
Setback, right?
on the setback line, sorry, what did I
Not
say?
property.
Oh, sorry, setback line, anything along that setback line. Anything if they had, to enclose it, to change and put windows in, any of those different elements are structurally altering that portion of the house that is currently over the setback line.
So if they get this variance, does that include any future things?
It would address, so for example, if the chimney was hit by a tree or there was a damage to it, this would address everything along that line.
Okay.
You can
Um,
repair based on current variance, but you can't, it couldn't add more on to what they're discussing tonight.
Right.
So this would include any repairs or anything along that area or any structural alterations, but on that area. And then this one additional expansion that they're asking for to be in line with the rest of the back of the house.
But if they were within the property line, this wouldn't be a problem. Or
Correct.
the setback line. I
Yeah,
should say.
if the house was within the property line and was existing, they would not have needed to get a variance.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mara before we ask the petitioner to present? Okay, who's here tonight for docket in favor of docket 2410?
I have just moved her over to, tried to move her over to panelist. There we go.
Leslie, can you?
Appears to be.
Okay. Hi, could you,
Hi.
could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead and explain your variance request.
I think Miss Perry set it out very well. The house was built in 1940. We just want to expand the porch. I think it's about 4 feet back in our own yard. We're not going to go any farther towards Jefferson. And that's it, really. Are there any more questions or?
Does
Anything
anyone
else?
have any questions for Ms. Shiner?
Just on my end to clarify, the hardship that's requested, and I believe it's listed this way in the application, but the fact that the home is built over the setback line to begin with, and therefore coming into compliance would require removing the entirety of that wall. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, yes.
Anyone else have any questions for Ms. Shiner?
No.
Okay, is there anyone else who is in favor of docket 2410? Is there
There's no one.
anyone who is opposed to docket 2410?
There is no one.
Hearing none and seeing none, we'll close this request, close the public discussion and close the public session and move into board discussion. Could we have a motion for 2410 so we can start discussion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the variance request in docket number 2410.
I second.
I think that we've gone through, that this is, the hardship is the location of the house on the lot. I don't believe this is going to impact any property owners. And in fact, while they are expanding the screened-in porch on the first floor a little bit, it's not a significant amount. Does anyone else have any comments?
I would say it makes complete sense to do this variance because if they do have any other issues, it takes care of all of that, takes that out of the city's hands. And makes that much smoother if there were an accident or something of that nature.
Yeah.
I
and
agree.
I think just to add on to that is, regardless of the expansion to the back, just doing the work above the existing
Right.
structure would have been a variance, and to pull in that wall, it's not practical. And it's just staying in line with the way the house was built originally, so it's definitely a hardship there.
If no one else has any comments, we'll
Call for the question.
call for the question. All in favor of docket 2410, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Tom, would you please poll the board?
Debbie Sahlberg,
Aye.
BJ Papello,
Aye.
Mel Wilson,
Aye.
Andrew Pottas,
Aye.
and Tom Walsh votes aye.
Your request has been approved. Please see city staff during regular business hours for your next steps. Thank you very much. Tom, would you please read the last docket 2411 into the record?
Okay, as soon as it goes, here we go. A petition submitted by John Emmert, JEMA Architects, on behalf of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Mary Queen of Peace, for an application for variance from section 53.078F and 53.078I of the zoning code of the city of Webster Groves. The applicant is requesting a variance of 6.17 feet from the minimum required 39.5 foot west yard setback in order to construct an accessory structure on a corner lot located 33.33 feet from the west front property line. The applicant is also requesting a variance of 4 from the maximum allowed 2 accessory structures per lot to construct a 6th accessory structure on the property. The property is located at 676 West Lockwood Avenue within the A4 7,500 square foot residence district.
Thank you. Mr. Bunchreger?
Before testimony, we would ask that exhibits 1 through 9 be noted in the record for the purposes of this hearing. And we would have Mara Perry testify. Could you please state your name?
Yes, Mara Perry.
Are you employed by the city of Webster Groves?
Yes, I am.
In what capacity?
Director of Planning and Development
What are your duties in that position?
to administer and execute zoning regulations.
Through your work with the city, are you familiar with 676 West Lockwood Avenue?
Yes, I am.
Is this property within the city limits?
Yes, it is.
In which zoning district is this property located?
It's in the A4 7,500 square foot residence district.
What is the applicant's request in docket number 2411?
The applicant's requesting two things, a variance of 6.17 feet from the minimum required 39.5 foot west front yard setback in order to construct an accessory structure on a corner lot located 33.33 feet from the west front property line. In addition, the applicant is also requesting a variance of 4 from the maximum allowed 2 accessory structures per lot to construct a 6th accessory structure on the property.
And clarify now.
Yeah, we'll clarify now.
Okay, can you clarify that request?
Yep.
please?
So I'm gonna clarify the request, and I'm gonna point out that in the notice that I did, we were going back and forth because there were multiple factors related to how many additional structures were on the property and which code sections were going to apply. When I removed one of the code sections after we got some additional data, I removed section H instead of removing section I. So we had both section F, which is the key one that I'm going to sort of talk about. No accessory building that's not part of the main structure shall be located less than 60 feet from the front lot line. However, on corner lots, no accessory building shall project beyond the front line on either street. And then it talks about accessory uses and structures. So I'm going to go through that variance. The second variance, items H and item I. H talks about the fact that in addition to one detached private garage, which is your first primary accessory structure, you can have one additional detached accessory building that is supposed to be built in the rear yard with a ground floor area up to 12% of the gross floor area of the primary structure. So technically that code section is the one that gives you the 2 accessory structures. Section I, which we thought was going to come into play and ended up not coming into play, was related to the total square footage of all of those accessory structures that couldn't exceed 1,000 square feet, and they are under 1,000 square feet. So I did talk with the city attorney to confirm that we are still in compliance because we properly noticed the address of the property and the requests that they were making. This additional section can be made on the record here for the fact that they're really asking for variances from section F and H versus F and I.
All right, so we've discussed 53078 F, H, and I. Are there any other code sections that apply to this request?
There are not.
Can you describe the existing conditions of the property?
So yes, so the existing conditions, this property, as you will note, is not a single family residential structure. This is a church as well as a school property. Churches and schools are conditional use permits within the single family residential zoning. But the single family residential zoning still holds for these types of properties, which of course makes it an unusual situation because they don't typically have a garage and then a second, say, shed. They have other different needs based on the more institutional nature of the property. So you have the survey in front of you, the site plan showing the existing school and then the additional part of the church property. I've highlighted here, the front yard setback is established from the property line going back to the closest corner of the structure. So because this is a corner property, it has the primary frontage along Lockwood, and then as Lockwood turns and goes to Berry, the property line actually takes an unusual jog. So it follows the property and then it jogs out towards Berry and back in again. Highlighted in red is the proposed location of the additional storage shed that they would like to install. In gray, also the other box, is the existing storage garage that was built a number of years back, but was built without any variances. The green line is the setback from the property line to the closest corner of the existing structure. And the red line would be the proposed location should they get approved to build this second or 6th accessory structure on the property. So the requested setback variance would be 33.33 feet because it would be to that closest corner. On corner properties, you can't be in front of that front setback line, and that setback line is based on the existing structure. So we would take that line and we would follow parallel to the property line. And so that is the closest corner. This is an aerial photograph, more of a bird's eye view that was in the permit application. Again, you can see in red the location of where the proposed accessory structure would be. They provided a couple photographs. The upper photograph is the existing storage garage.
Can I
The,
ask you a
yes.
question? So what they're proposing to build, is that virtually identical to that or?
yes,
Okay.
correct. So in the lower photograph, they have superimposed a view of what it would look like if that proposed storage shed was also placed in front of the existing one. So the upper photo is the existing. The lower photo, they have superimposed a photograph of what it would look like if it was there.
Just out of pure curiosity, is there a reason that it would be a separate building versus just tying it all into one?
You would need to ask the applicant that. This is the request that they've made. One more just to, and cleaner without the survey information. Here is the existing, so the school building with the gymnasium, and then the front setback, which is the 39.5 feet, and then the proposed setback of the 33.33. There was some additional packet information about the floor plan of this particular shed, as well as a north elevation of what it would look like, as well as a photo of the existing conditions. If you're looking from Barry and looking through or across. And then I did not identify where all of their storage sheds are. I was able to identify 3 of the 5. I know there's a couple other very, very small sheds, but we have the existing storage garage, which is 288 square feet. The existing canopy structure over the playground area, which is another 300 square feet. And there are 3 existing playground sheds at 100 square feet, 50 square feet, and 45 square feet. So that additional 6th structure would be matching the existing storage garage, adding another 288 square feet. And so the section H is the one that applied where there were only 2 essentially accessory structures. And they're asking for essentially a 6th one. There are 5 existing.
So it will also pull in the other accessory structures.
We're pulling in all the accessory structures to get them all approved as one.
So what's this blue on
The little blue dots,
No, it's on the actual photograph, the last one in the packet.
Is that the cover for the? I mean,
It's the
Oh,
last- it's-
that,
Looks like it's highlighted almost.
yeah, so that, if I'm looking at it correctly, sorry, that's some of the playground area and the cover for the playground area.
Oh, so that's actually, okay.
Yeah, that is actually there. So the only thing that's being proposed is that red location, that bright red.
Then I just have a question for the city attorney. I don't belong to that parish, but I've gone there. Do I need to recuse? No.
No, I mean, the idea is you guys are local residents, and so you have a stake in everything that occurs in Webster Groves. Simply having attended or whatever, having eaten at a restaurant doesn't preclude you from having a vote on this board.
Well, there's already 5 structures. This would be number 6
Correct,
on the whole properties.
correct.
And as you pointed out, the accessory structure limit is generally written for single-family residences, not necessarily for institutional uses such as this on 2.5 acres.
Correct.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, if I could,
Sure.
we should ask this during my questioning, but is there, I'm not aware, and I know you haven't memorized the zoning matrix. Is an institutional use like this a permitted use in any of the zoning districts in Webster?
No, religious places of worship, which is what we have in the zoning matrix, are CUPs in all of our districts.
In any of the other districts that this could be a CUP, does it allow for additional accessory structures or a greater number of square footage for accessory structures?
No, it does not.
Okay. Are we aware of any current variances related to institutional uses where accessory structures or number of accessory structures or square footage of accessory structures has been granted?
None that I know of.
So some of the larger educational institutions are covered by the educational zoning district, so they would
Correct.
not have to,
Yeah, so the educational campus zoning district requires you to have in even the smallest of their districts, 10 acres. So it does not end up applying to some of our larger religious institutions and their properties.
Well, to me, a unique thing here is a corner lot. And this is a sweeping corner lot. Normally you think of a corner lot that actually is a square.
Mhm.
And then as I look at this, and I've been by this school many, many times, there is a driveway, it looks like, between the curb of the street and the building itself. That's typically not found.
There's an additional cut-through street,
Yeah.
essentially, that
There-
it gets you to parking that is in front of both this particular property and the other religious institution.
I'm so
to the
old,
south.
I can remember when that cut-through street was the main street. That was a weird corner, and then they made it like it is now. I think so there can be parking there for the church and probably for Mary Queen of Peace too, but it's sort of a unique corner lot is all I'm agreed, yeah.
if we don't have any more questions from Mara at this point in time, let's
It's-
ask for who's here tonight in favor of docket 2411?
Hi, I'm John Emmert with Gem Architects.
John, would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is John Emmert with Gem Architects. I'm also a parishioner and sent two children through Mary Queen of Peace School. So obviously very familiar with the parish. A little bit of background on kind of the current state of things. We're thriving parish community, a thriving school. There's about 400 students that go to that school currently, day in and day out. So we're at capacity in a lot of senses when it comes to the interior spaces of our building. As far as storage goes, we're in desperate need of additional storage. Back in 2016, we did build the first structure that you saw on the site in that area. As you can imagine, looking at the parking that we are dealing with as well, we don't have a lot of room in that back parking lot. We have a lot of events back there, in addition to just the parking needs to accommodate the school functions as well as the parish functions. So we always felt that area along the side of the building suited our needs really well. It was adjacent to the gym. That is the side of the building that the gym's on. So we do have direct access to a lot of activities. A lot of things that we store in that storage building are associated with the functions in the gym itself. Something else to note, we don't just go to Home Depot and drop a pre-manufactured storage unit on the site. We took a lot of care into designing a storage structure that complements the existing building, using good materials and complementary of the existing building. And Mr. Waltz, you stole some of my thunder and the uniqueness of that corner lot. There is a jog in that property line that's a little unique. There is that cut through, I guess you'll call it street or parking area, which I guess I looked up some records. I couldn't find, I guess that's a city owned right of way or road through there. At first, we thought it might be part of Webster Hills, a church property, but it didn't look like that to be the case. So the distance from Berry Road is actually significantly more, right, than what that green dimension is showing. So again, a little bit of a unique characteristic of that corner lot. As far as the quantity of accessory structures, as Mara pointed out, it's a little hard to identify what we can determine as accessory structure. A lot of that is playground, playhouse structures, really. I would say the significant structure is the roof canopy over the picnic area. Obviously, the garage, the storage structure that we built in 2016. And then there's just a couple of, I'd say, small kind of playground shed structures in addition to that. The other thing to note is on the back corner of the parking lot, you can see we kind of pick up residential properties along that south edge of the parking lot and then along the east. So we like to be good neighbors and keep that area free of dumpsters and accessory structures and that kind of thing. So in addition to not wanting to lose parking, that's another consideration that we give is to be good neighbors to our residential properties.
So the
that are-
question I had, which I had asked Mara, is why wouldn't that just be one structure? It seems like you're losing some square footage on that.
It could be, it's a narrow garage right now, so we would still want to have an entry point or a garage door on the other
Right, I
opposite
get
side
that
of it. I
completely.
mean, we could probably connect it. That structure wasn't built initially with the idea that we would add on to it
Right.
at some point, so we'd have to look into kind of the feasibility, but in theory, I think it could be attached to that existing structure. I don't know if that would necessarily change the need for a slight variance, where that corner of the structure ends
No, I
up
think you still
falling.
need the variance.
Yeah,
5%.
exactly. But we
Uh,
could certainly look at connecting it. And the idea was to push it back as far as possible off of that front facade of the school building. So if we were to connect it, it'd push it even further back.
Now, I have a question
Sure.
on the Photoshop picture with the proposed structure. You have a man door over on the west side, but this is not really a garage door. It's more like a equipment door because it's only 8 foot wide. So you're not going to put a vehicle in this garage
No, no, no,
structure. It's
no,
more
yeah.
like lawn equipment or other large equipment that you don't want to take out through a man door, right?
No vehicles.
No
Yeah, it's not a drive-in, drive-out.
Okay.
Currently, what we store in the existing shed, we have a mobile stage that obviously takes up a lot of space. So that's what's in there now. There's a storage room in the existing building that we have a lot of folding chairs, tables, that kind of thing. We have to take all that out to get to other equipment in that storage building. So it's gonna really, again, no vehicles are going in and out of it.
Because you referred to it as a garage door, but it's bigger than a man door, but it's not really a
Correct.
garage door.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any
And it
questions?
is one story like the other structure, right?
It is, I don't know if, so the other thing that we were real conscious of is you mentioned that, so there's a pretty significant drop in topography. There's a retaining wall. Yeah, that image. So from Barry, or I guess this is kind of that cut through street, there's a retaining wall beyond that row of hedges. So the topography drops there. So you can see we kept that roof line basically right at that hedge line. So when you're driving down Barry, you can't see any of those structures. So
I mean,
we kind of did that purposely to,
you can see that retaining wall on this picture.
yeah.
If you look to the left of the,
Oh, yeah.
to the right of the proposed structure.
I mean, yeah.
So it makes more sense with the photograph and your explanation. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else have any questions for the petitioner's representative?
I don't have any.
Well, I just will make this comment. That when you drive by this property, you don't really see any of this.
That
Right?
was the intent.
I've driven by it buku times
Yeah.
and I didn't even know there was a storage. Of course, I don't look over there, but you're far enough away from it where the cars go. It's
That
not
was always the
sticking out,
intent, yeah.
and becoming obvious. So, and it's right at the same size as the
It's gonna
existing,
be the exact same. height.
exactly the same size.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Questions? No.
Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak in favor of docket 2411? Come on up. Please raise your right hand. Oh, and I'm sorry, you are?
Father Craig Hallway, I'm the pastor and administrator.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to, for the record, to state that I was here and present for this discussion and to say thank you. And then just a clarification for your question. If you go back to that picture of the photoshopped. So on the back side of that, Mr. Pupolo, they poured a 2-foot concrete curb. And so if we built that if we just elongated the current, whoever it was built the structure back in 2017,
Okay.
that we would have to remove that concrete. I don't even know what you call it, a foot, yeah, something or another. So yeah, like a stem wall. Yeah. Yeah. So just a clarification.
Okay.
Otherwise, nothing new to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of docket 2411?
No.
Anyone in opposition to docket 2411? Hearing none and seeing none, we'll close the public session and move into board discussion. Could we have a motion regarding 2411 so we can start discussion?
I guess a question, do we want to take one vote or 2 votes on this? What do we think?
Well, I think we just take one vote.
Or we one vote on each of the variants? Or vote
No,
on-
No.
one for both of them, because if we don't approve it,
You're going to be approving one ordinance following this, that it'll go on to council, and council do one ordinance as well. So
no,
Yeah, it doesn't go to council.
we don't.
I
have-
apologize. Yes,
But,
sorry.
but I mean, if
But
we.
you're doing one ordinance that's approved.
They're not proposing right now to build an addition to an existing structure. So if we,
They only applied for one variance, correct?
There's 2 variances.
Two
There's
variances.
the variance for the setback and the variance for the number of structures. But they both have to be approved simultaneously in order for the structure to be built.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve the variance requests in docket 2411.
Second.
Satisfactory?
all right. Well, I think one of the hardships is,
Oh,
we had a
I
second,
did.
BJ,
did.
second.
I'm sorry.
Yes, we have a second. I think one of the hardships is like Tom mentioned, the fact that while this is on a corner, it is an odd corner. And so the fact that it doesn't meet the front yard setback is not, it's unique because of the way the roads are, the fact that there's that extra, that used to be how you got in front of the church, on off Berry.
Right, it doesn't appear like visually like it's closer than the
No.
primary building.
And honestly, I think it actually improves the aesthetic quality because it's more symmetrical. And
And
it
then-
gives them room, so I think it solves 2 problems at once.
And then I think, like you said, Debbie, during Mara's bit about how this is sort of a unique use, and the second request about the accessory structures wasn't intended for this type of use, and it is reasonable that they would have
Right.
more accessory structures like this.
Does anyone else have any other comments on this request before we take a vote?
I think the corner is a very unique
Right.
situation because of the way it sweeps, and that it's really, the road is really further away from the curb than,
And I
Okay.
think that,
we've said it.
and I think that given the size of the property, additional accessory structures are reasonable in this particular case. All in favor of docket 2411, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Tom, would you please hold the board?
Debbie Saulberg,
Aye.
BJ Papillo,
Aye.
Mel Wilson,
Aye.
Andrew Pottas,
Aye.
and Tom Walls votes aye.
Your variance request has been approved. Please see city staff during regular business hours for your next steps. And like I said, city staff's gonna be out of the office for a few days, so.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Are you going back to Europe?
What?
You going back to Europe?
No.
No.
So just a quick reminder, I did send an email out asking for some feedback. So this would be other business,
Right.
into packets. It does take quite a while to put these packets together, and especially when we have a lot of petitions. And, as of 5 o'clock, there were 6 petitions for next month's meeting. So a
There
couple
won't
of
be
the
any more, or is the deadline technically
the
tomorrow?
deadline is technically today,
Today,
so we
okay.
should have no more. Even if someone did turn it in, which sometimes I let them slide by 24 hours, it won't work. It won't work for
many.
today. So the question that I had was, in terms of what you have in your packet, these packets have been the same orientation of documents since long before we had PowerPoint. So the question would be that now we have PowerPoint and all these items are in PowerPoint. Would you prefer, I'd like to change the application to make it easier to have just a couple pages to pull out of the application to put at the front. I'm thinking you don't necessarily need St. Louis County's data, because really it's just for my purposes. I don't think you need 2 aerial photographs. And then the question would be, do you even need it in your packet?
I emailed you back. And my reaction to that was, when I look at a packet, I usually look for the hardship, where they've stated a hardship. And then I probably look at the, what,
The survey?
Yeah.
yeah, and in all fairness, even that usually is, but the PowerPoints are outstanding.
PowerPoints are
And-
outstanding. Now,
Yeah,
when you sent the email last week and said we have the agenda and it could go online, I like having the information about the code in that packet. I don't need it in paper. I
Okay.
mean, as long as I can look at it before the meeting, and then obviously you talk about it during the meeting.
That's fine. I do not mind putting that in. That was one where I was debating whether we needed it in the packet or not, but if people are using it, I'm going to put it in.
I like, but like I said, it doesn't have to be in this paper packet.
Right.
If it,
Yeah. So yeah, that is printed off from what I send out. So I'm just trying to figure out what can I narrow down that I gather. But again, it's not a big deal. Even just taking out the county and the aerials
Yes,
is
yes.
huge.
So particularly when we've got 6 coming up,
Mhm.
I was talking to Mara about this, trying to
Right.
narrow down what it is she needs to do to get, because it's a time sink.
yeah.
And so the question really for you is, when you get these packets, what aren't you looking at? Or is anybody looking at the county documents? Because
No.
the packets themselves aren't going into evidence. So realistically, you don't need anything
Right.
except for what you need to prepare. All we need is what ends up going into the record. And if you're not looking at things like county, it could save Mara some time if it's not included.
Well, we could, if somebody wants to see the county stuff, that's public record, as long as they have the address, they can look most of that information up.
Yeah.
You are looking, Debbie, though, at the ordinances,
Code
code
sections.
sections?
I do, but as long as it's discussed by the staff in their presentation, I don't probably need it before,
And what about the notice stuff?
Oh yeah. The notification of,
Is
Okay.
anything
Yeah.
like that?
so I mean, it will be in the official record and
it does not need to be in our packets. I mean, I read the Webster Kirkwood Times, and sometimes I look really closely at the public notices, and sometimes, like for this month, I forgot and had to dig it out.
I think too, in cases where a lot is an odd shape, like the one that got there, it was good to see that.
Mhm.
Uh,
I will say, I do like
and
that.
So I'm saying is,
I didn't provide that. That was the applicant.
Yeah.
Right.
The applicant stuff, what's written, what says the hardship and the photos, all of that, it will remain because
It will
that's
remain in the
provided by
packet.
the applicant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all of that's going to be in there. So essentially what you would get is hopefully a couple pages of the basic information, which is like what code section are they asking for and some other things off the application, their hardship letter and their packet. And if that can be the basics that I make for the copies.
Yes.
And then any neighbor letters.
Oh, yeah. Well, their packet includes anything that they provide. So if I can simplify it down to that, then I might be able to get through the 6.
And because when Peter introduces his, things, the advertisement notice is part of what you introduce. I don't need to see that. That's just taking up space on here.
Realistically, if anybody's arguing about it, it'll have come up before the hearing. We'll probably continue it out to give us more time to, and if it ends up coming up on appeal, it doesn't need to have been discussed here. It's still going to be in the record.
Okay, that would be great. And then we do have 6. So the question is, do we still start at 6:30? I feel like I'm going to try on the really simple ones to simplify the PowerPoints as much as I can and not drag it out. I know we did. That was,
I mean, we can start earlier that day. It'd be fine with me. But
We
I know
we
it's-
could start as early as 6. I think if we get any earlier, could be very inconvenient for
For
petitioners.
some people to get here.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. Let me see again how many, I mean, I know of the 6. I kind of know, again, I've been meeting with each of these people about them and what they're doing and things like that. So I almost anticipated we might have gotten 8. It's been that crazy lately. But I think in all, there are a lot of similar to what you have been seeing lately where they're only coming because they have to. There's occasionally, one that sneaks in because they did something without following the codes, and you'll see those and it'll be identified. But other than that, maybe I'll work towards just doing 6:30, but if it looks like it's going to be too much, we might bump it back to 6, but I'll email out and check with all the regular members and make sure I've got everybody.
I'm for doing it on one night. You
Yeah,
mentioned,
I'm-
unless there's one in there that the odds are great that it's gonna take a long time. It's
Mhm.
very, something,
We
it's-
did that back in August.
Yeah, we-
Non-appeal request that we heard. so we
Yeah.
had a Special hearing.
and you just anticipated that was gonna take.
But there was a certain amount of, the Peter principle where the discussion expanded to fill the time allotted. I think if there'd been 2 or 3 other petitioners, that one might
We
not
probably
have
would've-
taken an hour. and a half,
That's-
whatever.
We can
Mhm.
also probably streamline.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm sure we could check with, whoever and put them in line, that they can make it on time.
Yeah. So usually what I do try to do is I try to put the more complex ones first, so that you can address the complex ones and then get to the simpler ones. In fact, this one I had intended for the church to be first, but because of some complications in trying to get all their data pulled together to figure out what variances they needed, they ended up last.
Well, we didn't make it wait too long.
No. Okay, well, thank
We
you.
looking at 6:30.
I'm gonna say let's keep it at 6:30 because we've been moving them all to 6:30. Let's just leave it at 6:30 and I will just try to make sure that we are as concise as we can be. What? Oh, yeah, the new screens.
Yeah,
They're nice.
And then one other thing really quick, because I'm telling this to all the boards and commissions, our comprehensive plan project is beginning. We will be having a first workshop coming up on May 1st. Starting tomorrow, the website should be up and running for our team. I have 12 listening sessions coming up. This is all the week that these packets of 6 packets have to go out, which is why I was feeling a little freaked out. Each board and commission is being invited to send at least one member to the listening session. So I will be sending an email out saying, hey, the listening session for boards and commissions is on such and such a date. let me know if you're interested. And it's really going to be just one person from each board and commission in that particular listening session. We will have a listening session for all these other groups. There's going to be one for educational, one for senior and wellness, one for arts and not-for-profits. There's 12 of them.
So you're saying if Mel and I both want to go to a listening session, we'll have to arm wrestle for it?
No, actually, the way we have it set up is one from a board or commission can be the representative for the board or commission. And then if I have two people who want to go, the other one can go to the residents listening session. Yes. So if the two of you want to arm wrestle, or you
I'll
just
defer to
come,
you, Debbie, because I'm an alternate. So
you can come to the
I won't take
Wednesday
that.
workshop. There is also the Wednesday workshop.
So you're gonna send an email.
I'm going to be sending all kinds of emails. You're going to see way more emails than you ever wanted.
I need an intern.
Is there any other business before the board tonight? Well,
I move we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.